We're going to open up and talk about the 9-game SEC schedule. So, Paul, a.k.a. Commissioner Greg Sankey and the SEC made the announcement that the SEC will be moving into 9-game conference schedule in 2026. And these are some of the components that go with it. They will continue with single standings, non-divisional structure. I'll talk about that in a second. Each school will play 3 annual opponents focused on maintaining many traditional rivalries. We already knew this was going to come. This was talked about back before Oklahoma and Texas joined the SEC. Each team's remaining 6 games will rotate among the remaining conference schools, which is a good thing because of 16 teams. It'll be very easy to do that. Each team will face every other SEC program at least once every 2 years, and every opponent home and away in 4 years. Now, I want to read off what the commissioner had to say first, Coop, before I get your initial reaction. And then we're going to break down each line of this because I think it's something that's worth talking about. But Commish came out here. Paul said, adding a 9th SEC game underscores our university's commitment to delivering the most competitive football schedule in the nation. This format protects rivalries, increases competitive balance, and paired with our requirement to play an additional power opponent, ensuring SEC teams are well prepared to compete and succeed in college football playoffs. What was your initial reaction to this, Coop? And then I want to add some color to it after you finish.
You knew this was coming. Like you said earlier, this was something that the conversation was around, right after Texas and Oklahoma started making their way in. You've heard what is a gentle way of putting it? You've heard the concerns from around the other conferences. No shade to the fact that Alabama is always going to play a big boy first week of the season, first 1 or 2, Wisconsin, Florida State, etc. Texas has Ohio State, Oklahoma's got Michigan, LSU's going up against Clemson. But you know what? We schedule cupcakes, and so we knew that the rest of the world wanted to. What they really want to do, Jay, is not have the Citadel or Mercer or Appalachian Tech, in November. That's kind of like the big piece. But this was, this was curiously placed, or I guess not curiously placed, but strategically placed when this announcement came out. This is about protecting and getting things ready for the next wave of how you do the playoffs. And every other conference, they were taking shots. They're going to think that they got the victory. Nothing happens in the SEC without really, really strategic calculation. And so this happened probably exactly when Greg Sankey wanted it to happen.
Exactly. And I knew that you were going to go that direction, which is why I want to add the color. So there was a CSC guidance dropped that basically said the way that they're now going to look at the college football playoffs, the strength of schedules, the metric is being changed. They're going to be paying attention in a different way. And because of that, to me, that's when the SEC got back to the table with ESPN and said, hey, guys, let's talk. Because if there's anything that I will tell you that I know, is that we have said on numerous occasions we will gladly play 9 games if ESPN ups the dollars. Our partners will have to pay us to do this. We're not going to do this. We ain't going to just do stuff just to do it. It's going to be some value behind that. And we knew that was a point of contention. The TV partners had said that they will be willing to do something. And we said, cool, what are we doing? And it just wasn't there when it made sense. Well, now that CSC guidance came out, the partners probably came to it and said, hey, all right, we'll meet your number. Are y'all willing to go this? And the coach and the ADs, presidents, and everything was like, all right, that's sufficient. So that's where we're here. This is why. And I mentioned that at the news dump on a Friday that they failed to realize, man, we got YouTubers nowadays running most of the television stuff. Like most of us is on y'all's TV right now. We're not tuning in to the ESPNs like they used to, the Fox Sports talk shows. Now, Monday they'll talk about this because they have to, because this is definitely the biggest story coming through the weekend outside of, Tommy Fleetwood winning in golf. But, yeah, this is important because now you're going to see massive changing in the scheduling with an increase in games. So let's go line by line, Coop, because my initial thought was, oh, y'all want to bury this. Y'all just didn't want nobody to really talk about this. Y'all want to keep this a little under the rug. This is why you did this on what we call the Friday news dump. Back in the day, if you dump something on a Friday night, it usually did not get talked about on Monday because games happen over the weekend that makes it kind of fall further and further down the totem pole. That's why you do it. But first and foremost, the continued single standings non-divisional structure. I'm going to be honest, I don't really like that. But I did not want to. I wanted to go to a quad setup. I thought the quad setup would have been a lot more fun. Still with the single standing, but more like these four teams are going to face each other. Like that's your group. That would have been a little bit more interesting. But the problem is, and it's funny, I was listening to Gabe and Teddy on the Oklahoma Breakdown, and I forgot who they mentioned that said this on the radio, on television recently, but there really isn't any teams in the SEC that has three opponents that we know that they're going to have to play, except for Texas. Yeah. Texas is the only one that has it. A&M, us, and they had a rivalry with Arkansas until, the conference is split. Arkansas went over to the SEC. So they have a historical one, but they technically got those three. Oklahoma, we've got one. Tennessee's got two. Yeah, we got one. Texas. Tennessee's got two. LSU technically doesn't really have one. Like, they haven't built one. But to that point, I'm cool with the single standing. I want it to be more divisionary, but that's cool. The 3 games is the thing that matters the most, 3 annuals. So let's jump right into that, Coop. When you see and hear that they want us to do 3, who are 3 opponents that you want to have? Let me get your thoughts on that, because I haven't got your thoughts on that portion of it, besides on the social medias. I want to get it now that you've thought about it, Mo.
Yeah, you're going to have to obviously Texas stays in for a bevy of reasons. Obviously, it's Oklahoma, Texas. You got the border situation. You got the state fair. That's one of the greatest rivalry games every single year. Does not matter what team has what record. Yep. Traditionally, it's just a great game. There's a lot of hatred between the two. And, you go get in the middle of a lot of recruiting battles between the two. When you're the home team, you're going to have recruits coming in that want to see both teams. And so there's going to be Texas. I would say that, a lot of people, for proximity's sake, you look at either a Missouri or an Arkansas. One of those 2 teams are going to be in the contention for it just because of how close it is. And Gabe and Teddy brought up a really, really good point in the fact that, like, with this new setup in the SEC, or I guess just since we entered the SEC, there's no, like, road trips, right? It's not like there's a close area you can take a drive over to outside of the Cotton Bowl. So could you, from Tulsa, a 2-hour drive over Springdale, to, from Oklahoma City, about an hour drive. So, you could get over to you get over to Arkansas pretty easily. Kind of the same thing with Missouri. Columbia is a little bit more of a drive, but there's no really good drivable games. And so I see them putting in a lot of those things. Me personally, I think Gabe and Teddy were also right when they drop it before we do. We got to copy a lot of stuff they say. But
not really.
The November, the late end rivalry week game, if you just went for the sake of college football, bringing something back like in Nebraska, or if you just wanted the yelling to continue in the state, bringing back an Okie State, but LSU doesn't have a dance partner on that weekend. Neither do we. So I would love to see the end of the year LSU Oklahoma, and here's why. We owe that dumpster fire of a program some kickbacks from playing them in their backyard in the playoffs a couple different times. But I would really like to see the LSU be added back in there. Because I think that at the end of the year, you're going to have a good game. You're going to have 2 teams that are probably playing for positioning in the SEC. and maybe even the playoffs.